All right, welcome to another great episode of the Real Deal podcast. Let's get it. All right, welcome to another great episode of the Real Deal podcast. I'm your host as always, Courtney Harden. Glad to be back with a new episode, and it is January 7th, Tuesday, live here in Philadelphia. I hope everyone is enjoying their official first week of the new year. Yeah, I'm glad to be back. I hope that with everyone, especially on the East Coast, that was affected by the snowstorm that happened. I think it was on the east and some of the south and everything like that too. So we had a few inches, but everything is good now. Snow's melted, sun is out. So yeah, hope everyone's staying safe and all those good things. So, but like I said, I got a great guest, returning guest, back on the show. But you can find the show on all podcasts and social media platforms, whether it's Apple or Spotify. We're on Roku, BS3TV live.com, Roku channel, BS3 TV. Download the app and get all of our episodes there as well. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Like I said, wherever you get podcasts, you can find the show there. All right. Well, I'm not going to keep my guests much longer in the background, and we're going to get into her new position. She's got a new job, so that was a great holiday gift and great new for to start the new year. But I have Peri Sheinin. She's a journalist. Also, you've seen her on Tennis Channel, the On the Rise Pod, and now she's back home. They said back to school, Brown University, but this time not as a student, but as the Brown University assistant coach, women's tennis assistant coach, and she's also a former athlete as well. So, Peri, welcome to the show. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, Courtney. It's great to be back.
Yeah, it's great to have you on, and glad to get you back on. Happy New Year to you! And like I said, what a present for you there on the holidays of you becoming and getting that new position as Brown University's women's tennis assistant coach as well. So congratulations!
Thank you. Well, it's such an honor.
Yeah, such an we're gonna get into all the logistics, how you got there, and you said being back home and what that all entails of being an assistant coach and things like that. So, but we were talking before we started recording, but how is everything with you and the family and the start of the new year?
Everything's going well. It is a cold start to the new year for sure. Waking up this
Mhm.
morning, it was 4 degrees outside, and I'm
Oof,
actually based in DC, so
yeah,
that's bad for this area. It's bad.
yeah, yeah. Now, did you get hit with a lot of snow yesterday, or?
We did. It was a stay-at-home day, but I don't mind that because there's always a lot to do around the house. So it was nice.
Yeah, yes, and I know the DC area, Maryland. Like I said, I'm in Philly, and we got about 4 or 5 inches yesterday. And yeah, it was definitely. I work from home too, so this was good anyway. So went out there, shoveled a little bit, and worked and staying home, as you said. So it was wonderful. Not like the snow, but staying home is great.
Cold weather is tough. It is not necessarily my friend, but I am going right back into it.
Yeah, definitely for sure. So, but again, thank you for coming on and really appreciate it. So let's get started. Like I said, congrats on the new position of being assistant, the assistant coach at Brown University. You said you're going back home. So talk a little about the process, like how did you become the assistant coach and yeah, and then the process of how you got to where you are right today.
Well, after college, I've stayed in touch with my head coach, Lucy Schmidhauser. She's the current head coach of the program, and she's been a huge role model for me as both a woman in sports, but also just a woman in life. And
Mm,
so last year, I stayed in touch, went to some matches when I was home to visit, and I found myself back home to visit again this past fall, and I just texted her, said, "Hey, want to meet up?" Just as I
Yeah.
usually catch up. And then she told me about this job, and I at first needed to sleep on it for a minute. I needed to think about if this was something that was even a possibility for me. And then I
Sure.
realized that I couldn't say no to an opportunity like this. It was truly the opportunity of a lifetime.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure it was. And I remember the last time we talked, you were talking about, as you said, being former athlete, but still having the love for it, but also helping others, as you did. Giving advice to how to navigate and adjust to after playing in college or even high school. And you said just helping other athletes kind of adjust to life after sport and what that entails. So, and now you get this opportunity to be back into it. I mean, you never really left, but now you're back into it. Now again, helping others and being assistant coach.
It's funny that you say I never really left because, in a way, I feel like I haven't left.
Right.
And I've just gone to a different perspective of it. And now here's another perspective because with my podcast with On the Rise, I was talking about women's college tennis, but also the journey beyond college tennis. And now here I am back in college tennis, but from a coaching perspective.
Yeah, yes. Now you're Coach Sheinin. Is that what you will be called? Coach Perry, Coach Sheinin? Like what's the name so far?
So within 24 hours of the press release going out, I started getting emails from recruits, and I was reading Coach Sheinin, and I was like, "Who is she?"
Yeah, who is right?
um, it was very cool. It was a cool moment, very humbling. Obviously, for the girls on the team, it will just be Peri. They don't
Yeah.
need to address me as anything else, but it is my goal to both support them in college on the courts, but also in life beyond Brown.
Yeah, and I think that's wonderful. You said very humbling experience to be called Coach Shiny. Like, wait, is that me? Oh yeah, that is me. And now it's got a nice ring to it too. And now, and like as your last name Shining, you're gonna be shining on the court too, and just on and off the court. So yeah, good. Congratulations on that opportunity, and you've already been doing some recruiting. I saw so you hit the ground running. Like, how's that been being back and now, as you said, on the coaching perspective, recruiting and just looking at talent, and you said helping the athletes itself. How's that been so far for the first few weeks?
So Lucy and I just got back from our first recruiting trip together down to Winter Nationals, which is a tournament that I played every year growing up in junior
Mm,
tennis. So it was a huge full circle moment for me to go back to the grounds. And it's now in Florida, and it was in Arizona when I played it. So it's nice, a little bit warmer down in Florida, but
yeah, yeah,
the experience to look at the players and think about how they might fit into our program. And I had a lot of cool conversations with prospective students who I feel they were brilliant. I mean, they were brilliant on the court, off the court. It's a very difficult decision as a coach as to who we're going to take, who we're going to talk to, because there is fortunately a lot of interest in our program and also just a lot of talented candidates.
yeah. The recruiting, that's um, as we hear a lot of the stories of just recruiting and what you're looking for in a certain player. You might have a different perspective from when you played to what you're looking for, and even from the coach as well. How do you have that? How do you build that chemistry and that trust to say, okay, we might have two different ways of who we're trying to recruit for the team, but how do you balance that and to get the right personnel?
Exactly. And the team changes every year. So our team
Mhm.
dynamic will also change with personalities, new freshmen coming in, seniors leaving. And so it's constantly an evolving process. And I learned a lot from my coach just over the few days that we were down in Florida. So I'm excited that recruiting is a part of my job because I feel that I am truly telling my own experience when I'm talking about the positives of going to Brown and how life changing it was for me.
Yeah, very life changing, and now and also dealing with. I'll get your perspective on this. Dealing with like NIL and all these things too. What's your take on how NIL can affect recruiting and just affect in general of you have a team and then they could be going somewhere else. But what's your perspective on that college recruiting and the NIL?
So Ivy Leagues are non-scholarship schools. So I
Mm,
feel that Brown is at a disadvantage with
mm,
NIL scholarships, with really anything having to do with money packages for student athletes. And I feel that social media is a really good way of us being able to put ourselves out there as a program and attract potential prospective players and perhaps not fall into the trap of having to offer a huge NIL deal up front, because social media awareness is also huge, and it's also a plus that we can do for mostly for free.
that's true. That is true. That's a great way to, and I think with NIL too, there's some pluses and there's some positives and negatives with NIL, depending on what side that what side it's on. The positive of it is student athletes are getting paid, and that and the recruiting, and it builds the programs and things like that. I think that's positive. I think that on the negative side of NIL, it's more of, okay, now that students are getting paid, how much are they putting in? How much work are they putting in? And oh, you don't know if they're going to go to the transfer portal, and all those things. So you got to look at that perspective too. Cause that it could definitely get a little much, from coaching and everything too. So I think there's pluses and minuses on the for NIL and the transfer portal.
And I'm all for student athletes getting compensated for their
Me
work
too.
because our
Hmm.
entire lives up until college. And so it makes sense that we're treated as employees, and there is this professionalization of college sports. And of course, it's already moved down to high school and the big sports. And with
Yeah.
those athletes getting huge deals coming out of high school. But in tennis, a smaller sport, I still feel that athletes have the opportunity to do NIL deals, especially within the Ivy League. There's no reason why we can't have female athletes profiting off their social media, doing deals that they're fully excited about. And then it benefits both the brand and also the athlete. And the third part of it is I feel like these athletes can make relationships with the brands and then perhaps even work for them after college. So it's a career move as well as personal branding and NIL move.
Yeah, it's for sure. It's definitely a career move, because you can use that. Athletes can use that as their, kind of a stepping stone of what it takes to be compensated, and then working for these brands, helping the brands out, but helping themselves as well. Just in case you said, if coming out of college and, it doesn't work out, you do have that experience of working for a brand, and it can help them, in the future. Agree, totally agree. All right, so, I want to ask you this, on going back to the coaching. What does Perry bring to the coaching side?
I really value my experience as both a bench player and a lineup contributor because my first 2 years at Brown, I didn't play that much. So I
Mm,
got the perspective of someone who is on the edges of playing, but is training mostly. And so I got to put all my energy into making my teammates better. And then my junior year, it flipped, and I got to be that one who was playing top six, who was playing on game day. And so for me, I feel that having both those perspectives will help me address all of the players on the team and not just the ones that are playing. And so that's the first thing for me. The second thing is mental health wise. I've really struggled beyond college tennis, who I am as a person. And I've talked openly about it on my podcast and in
yeah.
sports broadcasting in general. It's a big part of who I am as a person, is both someone who's transparent about what I'm going through, but also someone who wants to create a live community of female athletes around mental health and around mental health support both on and off the tennis court. And so that's something else I want to emphasize as a coach, is just being a friend and being another ear and another, helpful person, hopefully, in the corner that is supporting these
Yeah.
athletes.
I want to piggyback on that mental health, because that was one of my questions, of helping others, through mental health, and it's it's talked about in sports now even more. Athletes are speaking up for it, and needing sometimes that mental break. And it's very important, because you can't be your best self if your physical and your mental is not at full strength, or at least, having a strong mental health. And you said you struggle with that as growing up. and things like that. How did you overcome that, and how would you help even the players you're going to be coaching to help them get through mental health and how important that is?
I feel like, at least for me, it's never been about overcoming mental health. It's been more about living alongside and
Right.
leaning into my strengths, because I feel that, at least for me, my discipline, a lot of it is both a blessing and a curse. And
Mm,
so it's about finding a balance between working hard, being disciplined, but also having a life and having a balance outside of our sports. And so I want to help the players who are super disciplined stay disciplined, but also not take it to the extreme, and vice versa. Players who might need to, take it up a few more notches, I want to be there to support them in that as well.
yeah, and you're right. And it's not like say overcoming it, but just finding a balance of playing hard, work hard, play hard, uh, try to make a if you want to try to make a career of it, but have some fun too with it too. And I think even we all take life so serious, and that could be it's great, but it could also hindrance us too, that we're so serious about whatever the position we're in. But you want to have fun too. You want to have some fun on outside of that too. And with sports, sports is fun. Sports is supposed to be fun. It is winning, yes. It is having the chemistry and teammates and teamwork if you're in a team sport. But it's also having some fun and enjoying what you're doing. And I think that's part of the mental growth of being just a person in general, but being an athlete.
And for a lot of us as athletes, it helps us relax too on court, because
Hmm.
in college, I felt so much pressure representing Brown. I wanted to be perfect in every element, on the court, off the court, classes, social life, everything. I just wanted to be the best version of myself so I could represent the university in the best way. And that's a lot of weight to be carrying around, especially as an 18, 19-year-old
Right.
underclassman. And so I feel that having fun and bringing joy to it can actually loosen us up as players and allow us to swing through the ball and step in. And as you said, play tennis because it is fun.
Yeah, and play more freely, and still try to win. And on top of that too, and be the best version that you worked hard to be as well. I did see you just posted this on Instagram, which I found that was just fascinating. What you said, kind of going with you had said after playing D1 tennis at Brown, you shifted your mindset to prioritize being grateful over being great. This kind of goes with the mental part of it. I want to be great in my career, but more importantly, I want to learn and grow as a person and feel thankful in the work. Uh, I think that's great words to have because, as you said, when you're in the moment, I would guess it was just I want to be great. I want to be great when you're in that moment. But when you take a step back, it is about more prioritizing being grateful and being great. So talk about that statement you posted on Instagram.
I feel that those words came to me the most during the pandemic. And that was a time, of course, when all of us were struggling in our own ways. And in no
Mhm.
way am I saying that what I went through goes above what anyone else went through, but I certainly struggled mightily, and I lost
Mhm.
tennis during that time. And so it was the heartbreak of losing the sport that I loved. The Ivy League canceled our last 2 seasons of eligibility, so I lost 2020 and I lost 2021, and then I graduated in 2021. So in some ways, I only had 2 full seasons with Brown, and so I felt that I wanted to be great. I wanted to be great. I wanted to break into the lineup. I did, and then it was all over, and it never came back. And so I realized that had I been able to go back and tell myself freshman and sophomore year, hey, you only basically have these 2 years, I would have wanted to prioritize being thankful and being present in the moment. And I feel I did as most as I could, but I think I could have done it a little bit more. And sometimes I do feel sorry about that.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point of being present in the moment. I've heard a lot of athletes and former athletes, or just in general, just being present in the moment. And I try my best to do that, and it's hard, like you said, it can be hard. But if you said we just enjoy the moments of when we're in it, because sometimes you said when you're in it, competitive and like that, it's all about winning, and I think that's where. Just like you said, you want to be great, and then something like a pandemic, which stops everything. I mean, it stopped the world. It was a world thing that it stopped, not global, and that really can that really mess with a lot of people's mental, because we didn't know what was next and what that transpired, and now we're back into in the public eye. Now it's trying to move forward with it, but you said just be present in the moment, and like most importantly, learning and growing, and being thankful of the work we're putting in, but just enjoying life in general.
I agree.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, we got a couple more. I think you said I don't want to keep it too long. I know we talked a lot last time too. So, but I wanted to ask you more on back to the coaching, and what are you looking forward to the most when it comes to this season in 2025?
The biggest thing for me as a sports broadcaster was talking to female athletes. And that's, again, the thing that I look forward to most is just talking to the players and getting to know them as people off the court and watching them grow and develop and become people. I mean, at Brown, I kind of became a person. I'm not saying I wasn't one in high school, but
Mhm.
so much changes over the 4 years. And I'm just excited to, in my own small way, hopefully be part of that growth and support the girls through that.
Absolutely. And another thing would be, do you put expectations for yourself or for the team, or just even when you're recruiting, what expectations do you put upon yourself to, as you said, to be the best, to give the best advice or to help as best as you can?
The biggest thing for me is showing up and being present every day because I feel that I can learn and grow the most, almost like a sponge, if I am fully ready and present. And so that means doing the preparation that I need to do mentally, physically, emotionally to be in the best place to give 100% of myself to the team every day. And so for me, that means training on my own, continuing to go to the gym, lift, get a sweat in before practice so I can be there and give my full energy. And then afterwards, if I need to, mentally recovering on my own and finding ways to connect with the people that I love and finding ways to feel refreshed through that process.
Right, you definitely need that. I'm sure you need that time, especially you said going to the gym or practicing on yourself. You still want to, you still staying physically fit and mentally fit, as we talked about earlier. And yeah, and now your experience, as you said, is one of your strengths. The last one I wanted to ask you about is, or two more. Do you know what your day to day is going to look like, or is it still just evolving?
Like sports broadcasting, every day as a coach is different.
Yeah.
However, it is really nice when my head coach Lucy showed me the schedule because every single day we have lift, we have practice, we have individual sessions, but it's all blocked in there. And it's so nice because as a sports broadcaster, there's nothing that's blocked in there. It's just all over the place.
All over,
And
yeah.
it's nice to have that structure a little bit back in my life. So I'm excited for that. And we will be traveling every weekend that we're not at home hosting a match, and we'll be playing almost every weekend this spring. And so from January 20th, running all the way through the end of May, we will be on the road. We will be practicing and playing. And I say the end of May because our formal season is at the end of April. But hopefully, if we make some postseason runs, then it could
Yeah.
go into May.
Oh yeah, that's a goal. I'm sure the goal is to make a postseason run and get to the postseason, make a run, and become, come champion. So yeah, I'm sure that's all in the works.
Absolutely. But the greatest goal that I feel that I could accomplish would just be to support the girls and to watch, especially the seniors, watch them enjoy their final season of eligibility. Because for me, that was something that I never got to have as a player, but I want to almost both live vicariously through them, but also give them the chance to really feel grounded in that moment. Because even though the season seems like it's very chaotic, it's over in 2 seconds. And so I just want to be there for them and help them do the best they can in whatever form that may be for them.
Well, we will end on that because that was good words, great words to end on that. Perry, always a pleasure catching up with you. I'm glad we got to do this again, especially beginning of the year before you are very busy, as you said. You're gonna have travel and practices um, and recruitment and recruiting and all these things. So I want to send a lot of blessings to you, and again, congratulations on the new position and best of luck on the season, and hopefully we can do this again. But let everyone know they can act first, follow you on social media, and then just follow your journey as the new assistant coach of Brown University's women's tennis.
Thank you so much, Courtney. Well, thank you so much for having me back on. I love chatting with you. I feel like we always have great conversations. And
Thank
my
you.
Instagram is at Peri Sheinin, PeriSheinin, and TikTok is at Perfect Peri.
Okay, I got to follow you on TikTok, man. I don't think I follow you on TikTok, so I will be sending you a request on TikTok. Perfect Perry, got it. All right, well follow Perry on TikTok and Instagram, and yeah, just follow the journey that she's now as the new assistant coach again for Brown University's women's tennis. And are you still going to be doing the podcast when time permits, if you do, or any other broadcasting work in the works?
Absolutely. So I'm very grateful that Lucy, our head coach, has continued to support me in my broadcasting journey as well. So I will be
Yeah,
continuing the podcast on the rise, interviewing former and current college tennis players as they find their identity after college. And then I'll also be continuing to broadcast, do some play-by-play on the side as well when the time permits.
absolutely. Yeah. So you got a busy year upcoming. So again, thank you again for the time, and we'll do this later. We'll do this later in the year after after the season's over, and maybe sometime in the summer.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Courtney.
All right. Thank you. All right. You enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Have a good one.